Title: Cheating Wife's Secret Affair with Her Boss at Work, a True Infidelity Story. Samantha had always been an ambitious woman. When she landed the job at a prestigious company, she was determined to make a name for herself. Little did she know that this new chapter in her career would change the course of her personal life forever. Her boss, Michael, was charismatic, well-respected, and had a reputation for being both charming and professional. At first, their interactions were nothing more than casual conversations about work. However, as weeks went by, Samantha began to notice a shift in their dynamic. Michael started complimenting her more frequently, admiring her ideas in meetings, and offering her private advice. At first, she brushed it off as nothing more than workplace encouragement. But there was an undeniable tension, an unspoken chemistry that neither could ignore. One late afternoon, after a particularly demanding week of meetings and deadlines, Michael invited Samantha to stay after hours to discuss a new project. Alone in the quiet office, they shared a drink. The air was thick with unspoken words, and suddenly, the distance between them seemed to vanish. What began as a lingering glance escalated quickly. Michael leaned in, and Samantha didn't pull away. It was a moment of weakness, a collision of desire and temptation. They kissed passionately, as if the years of restraint had suddenly disappeared. What followed was a whirlwind of secrecy. Samantha, who had been happily married to Tom for 5 years, now found herself trapped in a web of lies. She felt guilty, yet the thrill of her secret affair with Michael was intoxicating. She justified it in her mind, telling herself that it was just physical, just something that helped her feel appreciated. But the truth was, she had never felt more alive, more desired. Days turned into weeks, and their affair continued. They met at odd hours, in hidden corners of the office, their stolen moments punctuated by quick glances and whispered promises. Samantha would go home to Tom every evening, but her mind and heart were no longer there. Michael's words echoed in her head. He made her feel special, made her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. But secrets, no matter how well hidden, always have a way of coming to light. Tom, suspicious of his wife's recent behavior, began to notice the subtle changes. She was distant, always glued to her phone, and seemed preoccupied even when they spent time together. One evening, as he picked up her phone to check something, he found a message from Michael, an innocent enough text at first, but it sparked a fire of doubt in his mind. He searched further, and what he uncovered shattered him. The revelation was like a punch to the gut. The betrayal hit harder than anything he had ever imagined. Tom confronted Samantha, and the truth spilled out in a flood of tears and regret. Samantha admitted to the affair, her voice filled with shame, but also with an underlying guilt that made it clear she hadn't intended for things to spiral out of control. She had fallen for Michael's charm, his attention, and the excitement that came with living a double life. The aftermath was devastating. Tom struggled to come to terms with the betrayal, while Samantha faced the harsh reality of losing both her marriage and her career. Michael, the man who had once made her feel so important, seemed to disappear from her life as quickly as he had entered it. He was transferred to another branch, and their affair ended abruptly. In the months that followed, Samantha tried to rebuild her marriage, but the trust had been broken beyond repair. Tom couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, and the distance between them only grew. As for Samantha, she was left to reflect on the choices she had made. The affair had promised excitement and validation, but in the end, it only left her with a painful truth. Her actions had ruined the life she had once known. This is the story of a woman who, in seeking affirmation and escape from her own doubts, lost everything that mattered. It's a true infidelity story, one that shows how easily the pursuit of desire can unravel even the most solid of relationships. As time passed, Samantha found herself living with the consequences of her decisions. The guilt never fully left her. She would see Tom, now distant and cold, and remember the man she once loved, the man she had betrayed. They tried couples therapy, but the sessions only served to highlight the rift between them. Tom struggled to trust her again, and Samantha couldn't shake the feeling that no amount of apologies would ever undo the damage she had caused. At work, the once promising career she had worked so hard to build began to unravel as well. Her colleagues, aware of the rumors surrounding her and Michael, started to treat her with suspicion. The whispers grew louder, and soon, the trust she had enjoyed in the office was shattered. Despite her professional accomplishments, she became the subject of office gossip, a stain on the company's otherwise pristine reputation. But what hurt the most was the loss of her own sense of self. The woman who had been ambitious, confident, and determined had become a shell of herself. She had hoped the affair with Michael would make her feel empowered, but in the end, it left her hollow. The excitement of sneaking around, the thrill of being desired. It had all been temporary, a fleeting escape from the reality she didn't want to face. Now, she was left alone in the silence of her own choices. One afternoon, after months of emotional turmoil, Samantha decided to take a break from her career to focus on herself. She left her job at the company, hoping to find some clarity. The decision was difficult, but it felt like the only way forward. She spent the next several months in therapy, trying to understand why she had allowed herself to get lost in the affair in the first place. What was it that had driven her to betray her husband, to betray her own values? Through this journey, she realized that her need for validation and attention had come from deep-rooted insecurities. She had been so focused on proving her worth in the workplace, so desperate for praise, that she had forgotten the importance of loyalty and trust in her personal life. The affair with Michael had been a way to fill a void, to feel seen in a world where she often felt overlooked. But in the end, the affair only left her with more emptiness. Samantha reached out to Tom once again, not to rekindle their relationship, but to offer a heartfelt apology. She acknowledged her mistakes, took full responsibility for her actions, and expressed her regret for causing him so much pain. Tom listened quietly, but it was clear that the trust between them was beyond repair. Though he appreciated her honesty, the wound was too deep to heal. They both realized that the love they once shared had been broken by more than just infidelity. It had been eroded by the years of emotional distance, the neglected communication, and the unspoken resentments. Months passed, and Samantha continued her personal healing. She started volunteering, finding fulfillment in giving back to others in ways that didn't require validation. Slowly, she began to rebuild her life, not as the woman she once was, but as someone who had learned from her mistakes. She worked on becoming whole again, without relying on anyone else's approval to define her worth. Meanwhile, Tom found his own path forward. He decided to move on from the relationship, but not without a deep sense of loss. The pain of betrayal was something he would carry with him, but he knew that he needed to rediscover who he was outside of his marriage to Samantha. Over time, he learned to trust again, though he remained cautious in his future relationships. As for Michael, he remained a distant memory. After his transfer, he faded from Samantha's life just as quickly as he had entered it. The affair had been nothing more than a fleeting moment of passion, a brief escape from the complexities of real life. But the aftermath of that affair was something Samantha would carry with her forever. Ultimately, the story of Samantha's affair is one of consequences and reflection. It serves as a cautionary tale of how infidelity can fracture not just a marriage, but the very identity of the person involved. For Samantha, the affair with her boss was not just an act of betrayal toward her husband, but a reflection of her inner turmoil. It was a mistake that cost her more than she could have ever imagined, but it also became the catalyst for her personal growth, a painful but necessary lesson in understanding the true value of trust, loyalty, and self-worth. As the years went by, Samantha continued to grapple with the lessons she had learned from her past. She had gone through the painful process of rebuilding herself, not only as a woman, but also as an individual who had to confront the parts of herself she had ignored for far too long. Her journey wasn't easy. There were days when she felt the weight of regret, and days when the temptation to fall back into old patterns surfaced. Yet, with each passing day, She became more grounded in her own identity and began to see the strength that came from facing her mistakes head-on. She also learned the importance of true self-reflection, the need to understand that seeking validation from external sources, whether it was through career success or the attention of others, was never going to bring her the fulfillment she had once imagined. She realized that no matter how much she sought outside affirmation, it would always fall short if she couldn't find peace within herself. The emotional turmoil she had endured had opened her eyes to the fact that self-worth had to come from within, and not from the praise or affection of others. Samantha, now in her early 30s, decided to shift her focus entirely. She went back to school, this time studying psychology and counseling. She found a deep sense of purpose in helping others who were struggling with similar emotional struggles. The desire for validation, the complexities of relationships, and the pain of infidelity. It was her way of turning the dark chapter of her life into something meaningful, something that could help others avoid the same mistakes she had made. Her work as a counselor was incredibly fulfilling. She found that guiding people through their own challenges, helping them rebuild trust and self-esteem, was far more rewarding than anything she had ever experienced in her previous career. It wasn't easy work. There were many tough conversations, moments where the pain in her clients' voices mirrored her own from years ago. But through it all, she discovered a new sense of purpose, one that didn't rely on the validation of others, but rather on the ability to help people heal. Samantha also worked hard on rebuilding her relationship with her family. Though her marriage to Tom had ended, she continued to maintain an amicable relationship with him. They were both different people now, and there was a mutual respect for the lessons learned, even if they couldn't rekindle their past love. They both moved on, but the shared history they had helped them navigate the painful process of healing. They found ways to coexist peacefully, especially when it came to their mutual friends and social circles. There was no animosity, only a quiet understanding that some relationships, no matter how deep, weren't meant to last forever. Over time, Tom remarried. His new wife was someone who understood him deeply, and together they built a life that was free of the baggage from his past. Samantha was happy for him, though a small part of her would always carry the regret of their lost love. The years had shown her that forgiveness, both from others and from herself, was the key to truly moving forward. Samantha no longer sought redemption from Tom or anyone else. She had come to realize that the healing process was an internal one. Samantha's story eventually became one she shared with others. She wrote a book about her experience, detailing her journey through betrayal, guilt, self-discovery, and healing. Her book resonated with many people who had experienced similar struggles, and it became a source of comfort for those trying to make sense of their own messy, complicated relationships. She often gave talks at support groups, sharing her insights and the lessons she had learned along the way. Though the affair with Michael and the pain of her marriage's demise remained a part of her past, it was no longer the defining chapter of her life. Samantha had transformed herself from a woman who sought external validation into one who understood the importance of self-acceptance. She had learned that life was not about avoiding mistakes, but about how one chooses to learn from them and grow. In the end, Samantha found peace, not with others, but with herself. And in that peace, she was able to forge meaningful connections with others, not based on needing validation, but on genuine care, trust, and respect. Her journey, though painful, had led her to a life that was rich with understanding, compassion, and authenticity. The story of Samantha's affair was no longer just a tale of betrayal. It had become a story of redemption, of learning to rise from the ashes of one's mistakes, and of embracing the path to self-forgiveness. It was a story of a woman who had fallen, but who ultimately learned how to stand again, stronger and wiser than before.